Right now, you are sitting there, listening to a story. But if someone walked into the room and whispered a juicy, scandalous secret about your mutual friend, your ears would instantly perk up. You would lean in. Your brain would flood with a sudden, addictive hit of neurochemicals. We do this every single day, without thinking about it. We talk about the people who aren't in the room. We judge their choices, we track their mistakes, and we share their secrets. We call it gossip. But here is the thing. This ordinary, slightly guilty habit is actually one of the oldest and most powerful tools in human history. It is older than writing. It is older than farming. It is even older than our own species, Homo sapiens. The question is, why did our ancestors develop a brain that is literally hardwired to talk trash behind each other's backs? To find the beginning of this story, we have to look past humans entirely. We have to look at our closest living relatives, the chimpanzees. If you watch a troop of chimps in the wild, you will notice they spend hours doing something very specific. They groom each other. They pick through each other's fur, removing bugs and dirt. Now, this looks like a nice, relaxing spa day. But to an evolutionary biologist, it is something much more important. It is social currency. In the animal kingdom, grooming is how you say, "I have your back, so you better have mine." It builds trust. It forms alliances. If a fight breaks out over a piece of fruit, the chimp who spent the morning grooming the alpha male is probably going to win that fight. An evolutionary psychologist named Robin Dunbar decided to study this exact behavior. He noticed a massive problem with this system. Grooming is incredibly time-consuming. It requires one-on-one, physical contact. As chimp groups grow larger, they have to spend more and more time grooming just to keep the peace. Eventually, you run out of hours in the day. If a group gets larger than about 50 individuals, the system completely breaks down. The chimps cannot groom everyone. Alliances fracture, fights break out, and the troop splits apart. But then, about 2 million years ago, a new kind of ape showed up on the African savanna, Homo erectus. These ancestors had much bigger brains, and they started living in much bigger groups. We are talking about communities of 100 or even 150 individuals. Think about that. If Homo erectus tried to use the old chimp system to maintain their social bonds, they would have had to spend roughly 40% of their entire day just picking bugs out of each other's hair. That is nearly half the day gone. They would have starved to death. They needed a new way to groom. They needed a tool that could build trust with multiple people at the exact same time. That tool was language. And the very first thing we used it for was not planning a mammoth hunt. It was talking about each other. Language allowed us to groom from a distance. Instead of spending an hour cleaning one person's fur, you could sit around a campfire and talk to 5 people at once. You could use your voice to build alliances, establish trust, and manage relationships without ever touching a single hair. That is vocal grooming. Yeah, our ancestors literally invented talking just so they could gossip. But here is where the story takes a wild turn. As these ancient human groups grew even larger, gossip transformed from a simple bonding tool into a matter of absolute survival. To see how this worked, we have to fast forward to a famous archaeological site in Israel called Caveman Cave, dating back about 100,000 years. Inside this cave, researchers found the remains of early Homo sapiens buried with strange, symbolic items like deer antlers and red ochre. These people were living in highly complex, deeply interconnected tribal networks. And in a network that big, you face a brand new, terrifying threat. Free riders. Imagine you are an ancient human living in Caveman Cave. You spend all day hunting a dangerous animal, risking your life in the blazing sun. You bring the meat back to the camp, exhausted and bleeding. But when you get there, you notice Bob. Bob did not hunt. Bob did not gather. Bob spent the entire day napping in the shade of a baobab tree. But now that the food is here, Bob is the first one in line with his hands out. If everyone acts like Bob, the tribe starves. The community collapses. In a world before police, before laws, and before security cameras, how do you stop the Bobs of the world from ruining everything? You use the ultimate weapon, reputation. Because of language, you do not just have to sit there and take it. You can walk over to the other hunters and whisper, "Hey, did you see Bob today? He did not help at all." Suddenly, everyone knows Bob is a slacker. The next time the tribe moves to a new camp, nobody helps Bob carry his tools. When the meat is handed out, Bob gets the smallest piece. This is what makes this so important. Gossip became the original human security camera. It was a decentralized, community-driven policing system that kept people honest. It allowed early humans to track who was a hard worker, who was a liar, who was a thief, and who was a reliable mate. Your reputation was your literal ticket to survival. If the gossip about you was good, you were taken care of. If the gossip about you was bad, you were pushed out of the tribe. And remember, back then, being cast out into the wilderness alone was a guaranteed death sentence. So the fear of being gossiped about kept everyone on their best behavior. It forced us to cooperate. But here is the problem. As humans evolved, our brains became absolutely addicted to this information. We did not just use gossip for self-defense anymore. We started using it to actively climb the social ladder. Let's skip ahead to the year 1993. A psychologist named Nicholas Emler decided to run a fascinating experiment. He followed ordinary people around in their daily lives and recorded their conversations to see what they actually talked about. He discovered that a staggering 70% of all human conversation is focused on one single topic: personal social relations. Who is doing what? Who is dating who? Who lost their job? Who is fighting with their neighbor? It turns out we are not a species of deep philosophical thinkers spending our days discussing physics or poetry. We are a species of hypersocial managers desperately trying to track the social landscape. Why? Because human society is a competitive game. In the ancient world, if you knew a secret before anyone else did, you had immense power. If you knew that the chief was getting weak, or that two powerful families were fighting, you could position yourself to take advantage of the chaos. Information was power. It still is. When you hear a piece of gossip today, your brain treats it like a rare, valuable resource. It gives you a shot of dopamine because it thinks you just discovered a critical piece of tribal intelligence that will help you survive the next political shift in the camp. That is why clickbait articles about celebrity divorces are so wildly successful. Your caveman brain genuinely believes that knowing why a famous actor broke up with his wife is vital information for your standing in the tribe. It does not realize the tribe is now 8 billion people. So here is the full picture. 2 million years ago, our ancestors grew too large to bond through physical grooming. So, we traded picking bugs for throwing shade. 100,000 years ago, gossip became the social glue and the invisible police force that allowed hundreds of humans to live together without killing each other. And today, that exact same ancient survival mechanism is why you cannot resist looking at your phone when the group chat starts blowing up with drama. The next time you find yourself whispering a little secret to a coworker or scrolling through a thread of internet drama, do not feel too bad about it. You are not just being nosy. You are practicing the exact social technology that rescued our ancestors from the jungle, built the first communities, and allowed humanity to conquer the planet. We did not build civilization because we were the strongest apes. We built it because we were the ones who talked the most. If you want to keep unraveling the weird, ancient blueprints behind your modern quirks, make sure to stick around for the next video. Let me know in the comments below. What is the weirdest habit you have that you think might secretly be from a caveman? See you next time.